Hey everyone, welcome back to the Underswell. I'm Derek Sabori. Today I want to tackle a question that I've had more than once, and it came up today again in a brand cohort that I do. The question is this: how do you stay optimistic when it comes to sustainability, climate inaction, all of the problems that we face, all of the lack of progress that we've made in our industry, and it just doesn't feel like we're getting very far and we continue to hit a wall? How do you stay optimistic? How do we stay optimistic? Well, today let's dive into that question. How do we stay optimistic in a time when we're feeling like things are not moving fast enough? When it feels like we're not doing enough fast enough? I'm going to give you 3 things that I think will help to keep you optimistic as we confront the realities of sustainability in the apparel industry, or any industry for that matter. You ready? Let's dive in. 3 things, here we go. The first one, you've got to make a commitment. You've got to be committed. You've got to be all in. You've got to have made that commitment and have had your flashpoint moment. Mine was a moment back in 2006 or so when I watched An Inconvenient Truth. That film by Al Gore, that first climate change film, really had an impact on me. And I remember watching the credits scroll at the very end, and for me, that was my decision to myself, my promise that I was going to be a part of this movement, that I really wanted to be a part of the solution. I didn't want to leave the industry. I was in it, but this is where my career was going. This is what I was doing. I made a commitment to myself, and almost in a way, kind of a commitment to my family and friends and my kids especially, that this is what I was going to do. This is where I was going to put my effort. So that has become my sort of anchor and the thing that I come back to, because yes, it can be really overwhelming, but also in that commitment, you need to keep learning though as well. So it was really important that as soon as I made that commitment, I had to kind of go open the doors to a whole new world that I hadn't had access to before. You know, even through my, at that time, 10 years of industry experience, and through my 2 degrees, my college degrees, I had an MBA at that point, and I just hadn't had access to sustainability learning or education. Nobody had talked to me about climate action or climate change, really, aside from one class I had in my first semester at college. So it was all brand new to me, and I really forced myself and committed myself that if I was committed, I had to learn. The more I learned, that fueled my commitment, and the more I learned, eventually, you know, people start to look at you as an expert, and then you become sort of an expert on your own. It becomes a self-fulfilled prophecy. You've probably heard me talk about this story before on other videos, but it's really true. It's really important to have that anchor point, have made that commitment to say, hey, this is where I'm going. It also had a lot to do with my resume. I really wanted my resume at one point to have sustainability, something to do with, you know, responsible business. I wanted that baked in. It really resonated with me sort of wholly, and it just made good sense to me, this idea of the triple bottom line: people, planet, profit, finding a balance between our environmental and social impacts and what we do with our business, and of course thriving as a business or in an economy or in an economic sense. That made perfect sense to me. Why would we not do this? So these ideas resonated with me as being a good human, and so I was all in. I made that commitment. That's been my anchor point. And to have a commitment meant I had to go learn. So make a good, strong commitment and decide to keep learning. And so make it a part of what you do. All right. That's the first thing. The second thing is build a community. This is really important. You know, for me in my earliest days working in a brand when I was at Volcom, I immediately started to surround myself with those like-minded people who were also really committed to this idea of doing business better and who wanted to drive the organization forward in this new way. And I have found that has been sort of the best thing to help keep the fire burning, if you will. Going to conferences, going to networking meetings, reaching out and networking with others that you know are in the space. A lot has changed over the last 10, 15 years or so. So it was a more lonely space back then. Today, you can get into groups. Join us over on our LinkedIn group or our Facebook group, or make sure you're going to conferences and events, watching webinars, following the people who are talking about this and working in this space and really helping to drive things forward. But no matter what, build that community, be a part of this tribe, and realize that you're not alone, because there are a lot of times when it can feel lonely and you can walk into a room and feel like everybody's trying to shut down your ideas, or saying that we can't because of cost or because of margins, and we don't want to disrupt our supply chain. We will find a 1,000 excuses not to push sustainability or climate action forward. I get that. So once you have a community or of like-minded people that you can go back to, strategize with, talk to, commiserate with, whatever it's going to be, you need to have a community, a support system, and mostly a group that also can help you kind of pick you up and say, let's go, we got to keep moving forward. We cannot stop. We can't move backwards. We have to drive forward. So build a tribe, build a community, find like-minded people who are with you. And that also means getting out there and talking about this. If you've got a commitment, if you're learning more about sustainability or climate action in your industry or in the apparel industry here, talk about it with as many people as you can. Talk about it with your suppliers, talk about it with your customers, talk about it with your friends. Get involved, let them know what you're doing, let them know what you're learning and what you're committed to and what your aspirations are. And guess what? People are gonna be attracted to it. They're gonna wanna come join you and be a part of your movement so you can be the one to build that community. But no matter what, it's really important to have that community, have your support system, have your family, your tribe, if you will, all right? So that's the second thing. The third thing that you've got to do, you have to start taking action. You want to have wins. So you've made the commitment, you've continued to learn, you've built a community, so now you have a movement that's starting to happen. But a movement isn't anything without action, without measurable results, right? So if that means doing something in your personal life or in your brand space at your company, regardless, you have to start making those wins and start taking action, right? So that might mean getting an electric bike or getting solar panels on your roof or starting a garden at your house or committing to buying organic, committing to not buying things, committing to holding on to things for longer, getting that jacket repaired, buying from more sustainable brands. One after another, start to have these victories and take actions. When you're at your brand, get that sustainable collection going. Get that first purchase of recycled materials or organic cotton or supporting a renewable energy product or talking with a supplier, getting them to convert and transition into renewable energy, whatever it might be, tackling deforestation in your supply chain, hazardous chemicals, all of the things that we talk about. Choose one, go after it, and check it off your list as sort of a victory of something that you can say, hey, I took action, I had a plan, I set out, I did it, I accomplished it, boom, there's one thing that's done. What's the next thing, right? We start to build momentum that way. So you've got to have a checklist, have good things, and actually do the things that you're talking about, right? Start to get to that point where you're like, hey, I'm actually doing these things. I am a part of this movement. I'm not just talking about it anymore. I've taken action. I'm getting results. I'm excited. Those actions definitely will fuel your commitment. So now we have sort of this circular approach, right? No pun intended for circularity, but we start to take action, we see results, other people start to like them. That actually further enhances and stokes that commitment, that fire that we had for our commitment. And we have to go learn when we're making choices and taking action. We have to go back and learn and try to figure out what's good, what's not, what are the impacts, what are the trade-offs, all those things we talk about. So now though we are back to commitment or further learning, the more actions you take, you're building your network, you're building your community. The more strength you have in your community, the more confident you are, the more competent you are in all of this, the more actions you're gonna take, and you see where I'm going with this. It just sort of snowballs from there. So those are the three things that I think you need to do to stay optimistic in these times of feeling like we're not doing enough, fast enough, and we're getting nowhere. You know what? We're getting somewhere. We're making progress. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot that still needs to be done. We've got to move faster, we've got to do it quicker, and we've got to do more. And I'm putting out a call to brands to really accelerate sustainability and climate action in their supply chain throughout everything they do. And I think it's gonna come through getting educated and through discussing it with all of their supply network, all of their stakeholders, communicating it to their customers, having that dialogue as well, collaborating with others in the space, whether it's their competitors or with an NGO, with a university, with a researcher, find operations for collaboration to move forward some of these solutions that we know we exist. None of us can do this alone. And then mostly take bold actions. Take actions that you know you wouldn't have otherwise taken. We've got to do all of those things to really push forward the momentum. We're running out of time. And so we've got to do a lot. It's going to take people like you, though, getting involved, doing your part either individually or at the brand that you're at. All right? So those are the three things. I hope they help, but it's really important to stay optimistic and to keep moving forward, not lose momentum. Not now. We've come too far. We're doing too much. And that's it. I thank you for watching. If you like little videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Come back and join us. Follow along with the other stuff we're talking about when it comes to sustainability in the apparel industry. Make sure you join our newsletter club. We're throwing stuff at you all week, whether it comes to things you must know, features that you don't want to miss, or things that are in the news when it comes to sustainability in the apparel industry. We'll put the link down there below. And other than that, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next video.